All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Welcome into Cleveland Browns Daily. Merely Beau, the great Z. How you doing, buddy?
Doing very well, very well. Got a nice little small ball session in yesterday, which was a treat.
It's your life.
You gotta love that, and so that was wonderful.
You have a
I just have
you have a caddy?
I have no caddy. I just was out there.
Cheering
myself.
group?
No cheering group.
Fan group?
Just me and the golf course. Me and a good walk around the pond. You know, it was glorious.
Where would you put Jade McRae's impact on this show? I mean, contributed a song, The Light. I mean, just one of our great fans, one of the great fans of the show, just a sultry musician as well. The talent is incredible.
Yeah.
And what I would say, she asked a question about First Friday. And so for her, anything. If you bestow upon us a light and you are part of that,
yes.
then by God, you're going to get an explanation. First Friday, simply put, comes from Z's time as a young boy.
That's right.
Where he didn't like saying Wednesday.
Ugh,
thought it was
dumb word.
A silly day. Didn't like the spelling of it. Thought it was a dumb word.
What is
thought hump day.
Yeah.
Stupid. Why spell it that way? Ridiculous. Hump day, lame. His favorite day of the week was Friday. It was Friday. So when he was a young sportscaster in Tallahassee, he said, you know what? I really like Fridays. I'd like to have two of them. So let's have First Friday and Actual Friday.
Makes sense.
And then, so act accordingly. Have a cocktail. Treat First Friday just like it's Friday. Worst case scenario, if you have too many, you can stay out too late, whatever. All you got to do is get through a Thursday, and you got another Friday.
You're right there. And
as you have so often said, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
It's a way of life.
It is. It's
so
an ethos.
It's not necessarily the first Friday of the month. It's every Wednesday
is First Friday.
That's
right.
Did I do that considering
you did
it's your
incredible
deal?
justice. I know. I appreciate the detail, and you really hit the nail on the head there. So kudos to you on this First Friday.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and it's the mindset that's
and
the
this
miracle. It's the miracle of the mindset.
It is. That's the miracle of it.
That's right.
Big deal. And on a day like today, come on. What do you want?
What do you want? We're living out here in the 70s.
What do you want in life other than this day?
70s.
Guys, I got Andrew.
It's beautiful. We're going to have an exclusive First Friday Miracle Edition interview right now. I mean,
right now.
Right now.
Let's head out on the hotline. Andrew Billings joining us. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Doing very
well. We're doing real well, buddy. It's good to talk to you. A lot to get to on this. Obviously, we haven't talked to you in a very, very long time. Let's just start back at the beginning and take us through what last season was like for you. Such a crazy time, obviously dealing with the pandemic and everything. You make the decision to opt out, but as you followed this team, what was that like? What was it like not playing? What were your days like, your months, your weeks?
Yeah, so the decision to opt out was a tough one. I had to get some specific answers from the team and doctors, but once they gave it to me, it made it possible for me to make that decision. But once I was out, some of the beginning months, the days they just stuck together. And it was a long process until I could find like a good gym to work out in, and just keep my body up to date. So it was a long process, but took some time to figure out. Once I did, it was all good.
So you kind of go through this. You watch this season unfold. What did you want to watch football? Did you want to watch the Browns, or did you say, you know what, you want to just stay away from it, focus on yourself and your health?
In the beginning, it was kind of hard to watch, but after a while, you just, I don't know, you miss it, so you end up watching it all day after. I'll go on an NFL Game Pass after the games and, just watch it and just study the plays and see what they're doing. So it doesn't get easier, especially, as the season progressed. I was all tuned in.
Yeah, and it was
see what they're doing out there.
It was a fun season, obviously, and we're excited for you to get to be a part of what should be an even more fun season here in 2021. But I'm not familiar with the rules. Were you able to contact the team at all during this time, or were you truly on your own? And so once the league year rolled over this year, was that the first time you were able to talk with the team once again? And if so, what was that like?
Yeah, no, they had a team that they put together. They reach out to the COVID opt-out players, and that was really nice. Other than that, we weren't allowed, to talk to coaches or,
Sure.
Even go over the game plan or anything. Essentially, if you opted out, you're out. You couldn't come to the facility or anything. But they had people reach out, and I think that meant a lot to me.
Did you find yourself going, especially as they have the run that the team has at the end, going, man, I'd love to be a part of that. And how much does that fuel this offseason and what should be, incredibly high expectations going into this season?
Yeah, just seeing that, it was, I wanted to be out there, man. I wanted to be out there in practice. I wanted to be in meetings. I wanted to be out there in those games. But especially coming into next year, it's even more important, for me to get out there and work even harder now because there's a team out there that I want to be a part of, so I got to work to find my place in there.
How do you feel now? I would imagine the wear and tear of being a defensive tackle is extreme. Did the year off do your body good? Do you feel ready to really be able to come in and hit the ground running for, Joe Woods and Coach Kiffin here along the front of this defense?
Say that.
I was just asking, did the year off, how physically did that, not having to go through the wear and tear and the rigor of an NFL season for the first time, you'd started 30 your last 32 games, does that have you feeling physically ready to, come in and really hit the ground running? Like, do you notice the difference of not being beaten on and beating on other people for a year?
I noticed the difference of not being beaten on, but also noticed the difference of not taking any snaps for a year, too. So yeah. I think it's a give take, but hopefully I can get out there and get as many reps as possible, even through the preseason to get ready for the season.
Andrew, when's the last time you didn't play football?
Last time I didn't play football was actually my rookie year when I had a knee surgery.
Okay. So similar feelings in that regard, probably, in terms of not being able to play. As you look at this roster that Andrew Berry has put together, and you think of what was accomplished without the benefit of a traditional offseason, without the benefit, heck, last year at times we're playing games we weren't even practicing, not in person. It was crazy, unable to meet in person, those type of things. And now you have a full offseason ahead of you. We certainly hope things will be more closely back to normal. And you look at the additions on the defensive side of the ball especially, and you start to plug yourself in there. Is it a situation like do you throw in Madden and say, boy, this is what this is going to look like? How do you go about envisioning what this team can be from a defensive side with the new additions?
Yeah, really I envision is basically, as they put the team together, and I see what they're doing, I really envision, really how can I help? Because, I'm not exactly expertise in their positions, but it's just like, how can I help myself, fit in with these players? And basically, since I haven't been there for a year, I really want to get back down to the basics, like bare bones, just the technique and everything, to be honest.
Absolutely. And when you made the decision to sign here in free agency, what kind of was the role that they had at that time, envisioned for you?
Playing nose guard position, stopping the run.
Yep.
The type of technique they're running up front, coming from the 49ers, it didn't exactly need a traditional nose guard, but, being the team that we are in the division that we are in, they really saw me fitting in.
Awesome, and we're certainly excited to have you talking with Andrew Billings, and a lot of people excited to see you in this defensive line room with Sheldon Richardson and Malik Jackson, who's here, and the young man Jordan Elliott now. But I want to take you in a different direction real quickly. I know you played your college ball at Baylor. Were you locked in Monday night to the Baylor NCAA championship?
Yeah, it took me by surprise though. I mean, I knew Baylor was good, but they were lights out.
They were dominant. It was a dominant performance.
Very dominant. I mean, after Gonzaga played UCLA, I was like, all right, they got a little something. But I mean, Baylor just that was really nice to see, especially like the year that they had, with COVID and all that.
And it's not, you got women's basketball winning national championships. I think they got to the Elite Eight this year. The men's as well. The football team's had a great deal of success, certainly when you were there as well. It's interesting. It's really quite the athletic program that's been built down there in the last 15-plus years.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They've been able to sustain that, and it's just really nice to see.
It's really nice to talk to you, buddy. Can't wait to see you back on the field in the fall and to be a part of this and what we think will be a very special defense. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time today.
You guys are welcome.
All right, looking forward to seeing him back
Billings,
up here.
Defensive tackle.
Let's go.
Going to be fun, yeah. Absolutely. Very good stuff there. And, we're good. His spot here, in this spot, I was just making sure I didn't miss a read there. This defensive line situation in terms of what it looks like, and I think it's one of those things that, Larry goes to Cincinnati, and because he didn't play, and it's natural. There is a forgotten man thing with Andrew just because he obviously wasn't here. And so, he's coming back, and it's as if we're getting him now. Last year didn't exist. So the contract is 2 years, and it's going to be a part of it, and that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, and this is a very talented player is Andrew Billings. Huge, strong. He broke Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, broke his powerlifting records in the state of Texas as a young man. Right. I mean, we're talking an incredibly powerful guy. He started 30 of his last 32 games, and he is different. Malik Jackson, more of a pass rusher. Jordan Elliott, more of a pass rusher. Sheldon does it all, obviously. But this is a run stopper. This is you will have to double team me. And now Anthony Walker Jr. or Jacob Phillips can run free to the ball and make plays.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. That was not on our roster. That has not been on our roster for a while.
No. So, it's an exciting part of it. And I think to be counted on of what he can bring to the table. So it will be very fun. If your game plan for the season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. We will go around the league. We will review Dustin Johnson's championship dinner. Big news out of our boy Dane Brugler as well. Lots of fun on the program here. Off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, time to get into the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. All the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. The Beast is here. Dane Brugler's draft guide is now out on The Athletic. We haven't had Dane on in a minute. It's been what's it been, about a month since we've had Dane on?
Too long. Far
Maybe
too
long.
long. Normally
Too long?
we'd hang out with him. We would hang out with him at the Combine. None of that. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of big powerhouse segments on all of you did that great thing last year with all of the tackle prospects, which was cool. And it's a little different, as we've talked about on the show. It's a little different for us because, it's not like you can say, in years past, right, let's go look at all the quarterbacks. Let's go compare Miles to Deshaun and to Trubisky. Let's go compare all the tackles. It's wide open at 26. So it's a much different conversation in terms of, you're almost, when you have these guys on like Dane or any of these, if we have Lance or Daniel Jeremiah or any of those guys on, like it's almost a two-pronged thing. It's almost like, what do you think would be a good fit? And then of those position players, who do you like most? That's almost the conversation. Yeah. It's almost like they have to know the roster as well as the guys they're breaking down.
Yeah, his breadth of knowledge is unsurpassed. It's funny, we can say we knew him when. I mean, I had been printing this guide out for, it feels like a decade now. And now he's, his guide is worth a whole year at The Athletic. And then you get all that on top of it as well. So if you're not a subscriber to The Athletic, get great coverage of all things sports there. But now it is the exclusive home for the Beast, Dane Brugler's draft guide, which is the best. He is as knowledgeable about draft prospects and, to your point, every NFL roster and what the fits would be as anybody, I think, on the planet. And I don't even think that's an exaggeration. I don't think that's hyperbolic.
Yeah, that's the real beautiful thing that Dane's able to do.
I don't think it is.
It's not just from a scouting standpoint. It's also from, he just is so prepared when he comes on like this show, specifically talking about the Browns and our fit with the prospects. As much, it's not like it's one thing to just study the prospects and know them front and back, and he does that in spades. But he also knows the fit in the roster, which is why you appreciate him so much.
It is, and it's one of those, as a Big B, when you get to have a big I interviewer or interviewee, that you can sure. ask him anything, and you will get a good response. You cannot catch him off guard. Nobody would ever try to do that, but he is ready for everything. It's an unbelievable amount
There's
of
no
knowledge.
Prep.
Big Drew's
like
walking by in a walking boot.
What do you got?
He's on crutches. Big Drew, our guy here.
Oh gosh, you're
hurt.
Your excitement led me to believe it was senior swag, and I just heard walking boot. And I'm like, we can't have that. Oh
my God, Drew's all-night softball tournaments, which I'd never heard of before, sound crazy to me.
Come again?
Yeah, Gibbe acts like these things are super normal. Maybe they are. Maybe it's another thing I just don't know about.
Like regional softball tournaments. They'll play all night. They start like at 9 o'clock Friday night.
What are you talking about?
And then they play till like Saturday morning.
They play through the night.
Hold on a second.
Why?
You're telling me like they start a softball game at like 2 a.m.?
Yes.
This is real?
Yes. And Drew.
And I'm sure the conditions were just primo in Columbus.
That's how Drew went down. We're not nocturnal.
Okay. You're telling me
we're not nocturnal.
Drew went down playing a middle of the night softball game in Columbus?
Tournament.
What's the injury? Do we know what the injury is?
They thought the ankle was fractured. It's not.
Yes.
But I don't know what. I don't know if it's a severe sprain with some ligament issues.
Crutches right
I don't
now.
know. There were other opinions and other doctor visits. I'm like, here's the problem. You did that, but now you're in Columbus, and you still have to get home.
Yeah.
How does that happen? And by the way,
2 clicks and it drives you.
That's right.
As a guy that tore the ACL and MCL playing on an intern's basketball team, maybe it's time just to hang it up. You got to know when to say when.
Well, we're just not built. We're not nocturnal. We're not built to be playing softball at 3:30 in the morning.
No, you can't be playing softball at 3 in the morning. That's craziness. I didn't even know that existed.
Same.
This is relative. No, it's probably a little earlier. But it reminds me of when I saw DeMarcus Cousins made his return last night and played for the Clippers. It reminds me of when I saw Boogie Cousins blow up his Achilles. And up until that point, I was playing basketball at like 6 in the morning, 2 and 3 times a week. And I loved it. And then I saw him go down in a heap on an Achilles, and I'll never forget the next day, that was like an 11-month recovery for a peak athlete. And I said, well, so if it's 11 months for him or like Grant Delpit, it's like 2 years for me.
What's it for me?
I don't have that in me. I don't have that
Pedro.
in me.
Decimated by an Achilles.
Not Pedro with an Achilles?
Oh, yeah.
Did he rehab it, or did he just say the heck with it?
No, he rehabbed it, and he did everything he needed to do so that he could still, move around and shoot the basketball again. But when it happened, he goes, "Who kicked me?" And he's like lying on the ground.
Oh, no.
There's nobody around him. He's like, "Who kicked me?"
Of course.
I'm like, nobody kicked
How old
you.
was Pedro when this happened?
This would have been 2002, so he would have been 52.
Okay. In a pickup game?
Pickup game, yeah. At Schobers, the local gym.
Yeah. See, if I
And I was
ever
there.
get
I was
coerced
in town. I would not have been
You
normally in town.
witnessed?
I was there. It happened live. Yeah, he said, "Who kicked?" I was there. And then
were you playing with him
Yes.
when this happened? Like you were
Yes.
involved in the game?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We were on the same
What
team.
an incredible story.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
Wait a minute. You were on the same team.
You
You
and
had to
Pedro?
share a ball?
so I was home.
what's his game
was
like?
2002, so
What's
we must
his
have been
game? How do
visiting.
you guys fit together? How do you play off each other?
We were actually a pretty good combo. So my dad,
Yep.
Pedro's game would be Bill Lame beer on
Yep.
steroids. So incredibly violent, incredibly dirty and physical, but would always what I do. That's just how he played the game.
Sure.
He could not. If you said to me, your dad can shoot a 3 or he can have an uncontested layup and your life is on the line,
Okay.
I would have him shoot a 3. He is incapable of making layups. Can't do it. Impossible.
Wow. I would have had that go opposite. Yeah.
It should go opposite for everybody.
Sure.
It's a layup.
Right.
Not for him. No, but he'll pick and pop. He'll elbow. He'll rebound and clear out. Good understanding of the game. Knows to get me the basketball so I can score it for us. But if you can drive
Is he a
and
willing passer?
oh yeah, you could drive and kick to him all day,
Yeah.
and he'll play tenacious, violent defense to the point where
So
I've
he's
seen-
really probably a perfect pickup teammate.
Yeah, in his day, when I was pretty good in my
Yep.
early 20s, and he was in his at that point, I guess he'd be like it was right around then. He'd been in his early 50s, late 40s. Yeah, we were really tough. We won the Showbers League a bunch of times, being on the same team together because I saw him
I buy
take
that.
people who were significantly more athletic, younger, and skilled than him, and they would stop driving because they didn't want to put up with the physical toll that it took on their bodies from his just nastiness.
It's so funny the way that you just described him. I can immediately picture 5 or 6 faces of people I've played pickup basketball with over the years that have that game. And you hate it when they're on the other team. You can't stand it.
No.
Cannot stand it because it's a lot of it's almost like how many times I remember so many times. I remember this guy Randy in Tallahassee who has the exact same game, and I remember like going in driving in, getting smoked by him, and then eventually you're just like, come on, man, how many times are we going to do this? How many fouls are you going to have here? We're going to have 72 fouls on you? Am I going to check it up every single time? And he would be like, whoa, what?
He'd be more subtle about it, but
Yeah.
and he wouldn't call fouls if you did anything to him. So then how could you try to
course.
call a foul back on him? Now he had another.
Oh, so
in
that's a good trick.
well, first of all, he never went to the basket. So when was he getting fouled anyway?
Yeah.
But so he would shoot the ball for those who are watching on the stream. Like I shoot my jumper. Most people shoot their jumpers, right here. You get that nice little window. You get it's a beautiful flick of the wrist, splash about.
Yep.
He claims because he had not cataracts, he had astigmatism.
Okay.
He would shoot the ball like this. So he would
like Lonzo Ball.
his right foot was way in front, and the ball would come from the left side of his head, and he would kind of Except unlike Lonzo Ball, he was probably open 75%, easy. Like he didn't miss. He could stroke the
knock it
basketball.
down.
Yeah, but it was crazy
Wow.
looking,
So
and
he's
he
a
also
perfect
didn't
drive and dish.
Right. He would always get covered by, they'd be like, oh, we're going to put this guy on. You got the old
Yeah.
guy. But that was the perfect thing for us because
Big mistake.
Yeah, he could stroke it.
Man, I love it.
He was
I love
salty.
That game.
He had a
I
salty
love the talk
game,
of that game.
though. It was a salty game. It's the only way to
Yeah,
say it. Just
yeah, you love that guy. You love that guy. If I get coerced into playing a game now, it is I do not go inside the arc, and I just go arc to arc. I don't even mess with. I basically just catch it. That's it. I don't go inside. There's none of that.
No, I'll post up
Nothing.
because I'm bigger. Most people that I run into, I'll be bigger.
I've
and
got
stronger
Achilles in my head. I just have Achilles in my head,
Yeah,
and I just am like, I'm not
thinking.
I'm not going any quick twitch. Well, you live a life without burden. Did you see
Yeah,
Dustin
right.
Johnson's
I wish.
dinner last?
I think I live life with pretty heavy burdens. If you
The
want to
best-
take one of
did
those
you see
burdens
that-
off my hands, I'll go on vacation more often.
I can
It'd be
remove
great.
it?
Yeah, you can remove that burden from me.
You
great.
know, the Masters dinner from Dustin Johnson. We did ours yesterday, and
Which featured one of the great in commercial discussions of all time.
of all time,
I hate fat and meat. I want the fattest meats possible.
Hold on. That conversation never even happened on the air, by the way.
I just summed it up for everybody.
Yeah. What you're talking about
was it,
never
yeah.
transpired on the air.
No, it did not. Should have. It was unbelievable. Literally unbelievable. This was what Dustin Johnson. We went with what we went with. Dustin Johnson. We did go over ours, right? We went over what we would have because I just subbed out the.
We
you
did.
went
We didn't
prime rib and
necessarily
I
go
just
through.
went
Let's go through
ribeye.
it though. In this, we'll refresh for those who are enjoying the
In
program
this sense?
because we don't have it. We never had it laid out quite like this.
Should we do it his way? Should we say what he had first, and then at each level give where we would
Yeah,
go here?
exactly. Let's do that.
Okay. His appetizer: pigs in a blanket, which at Augusta are a little different than the ones you'd normally see. I've seen some of the images of them, and lobster and corn fritters. I've never had a lobster or corn fritter.
I'm in though. I'm in.
I feel like I'd like it, but I haven't had it. On the appetizer front, for me, it would be some sort of raw ahi tuna in some way.
Okay.
Whether that's sashimi or ceviche, it would be something like that would be the app.
Okay.
That's how I
Well,
would
you
go
get
there.
two. You get two now. We're gonna follow his mold here. You get two.
Oh, sure.
By the way,
okay.
I give his
All right.
apps.
Very good.
I give his apps a D. And I'm into the lobster and corn fritters.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it either. So I would go with the ahi would be one, and the second one would probably be some sort of there's a prosciutto covered date
Oh.
that I've had from time to time.
They have
is
that at
very strong.
Downtown 140. They've got those there.
They could have it. Yeah, very, very good. I like that. I like the prosciutto wrap date.
wrap
I
date,
like. I
okay.
would maybe run that.
All right.
That jumped. To be fair, I was only prepared for one, but then you added
Yeah.
the second, so I just came up with that on the fly.
All right, I'm going to give you two since I'm going to go my two. My appetizer one is going to be I will follow your lead but I'll be specific. Mine will be the hamachi jalapeno from Nobu. Will be one of my
Okay.
apps. So there's your raw fish with the little jalapeno, that nice ponzu. It's a delight. And then the second will be it's no longer around, the now defunct Bull and Bird Steakhouse, but they had they called it lobster escargot. So it came out in an escargot tray. It was chopped up lobster, a lobster tail chunk sitting in butter and garlic.
Butter. So
that's where I'm
two
starting.
things. I just found out because we haven't gone out, and I just found out that place is no more.
Yeah, sad.
5 days ago. Sad. Very, very sad. And you told me to have that, and it delivered in every way. And I would sub out my prosciutto covered date and sub that in.
Let's
I would
go.
put that in because it is that good. It's that good.
All right. What about Gibby? Gibby, what are your
Gibby, your apps?
Meatball on a stick?
Chicken wings with the trolley sauce that I get at my neighborhood bar.
Chicken, okay.
And a little,
Yep.
I got to go a little lobster bisque. I love me a good lobster bisque.
You could put that in the first course, Gibby, I think. I think you can put that in the
Yeah, I
first
think
course.
that's available there.
It's an appetizer.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sure.
You drums or flats on the wings. I mean, it's Augusta. You get whatever you want.
I believe it's called Champion's Prerogative.
Ooh, yeah.
That's right. So which one?
Champion's
Where are you
prerogative,
going to go? Drums or flats? Which cut of wing are you going with?
Drums.
Okay.
Drums.
I'm a flats guy.
I'm a mix. I like them both.
That's why you live on the east side
Like
and I'm
'em
on
both?
the west side. It's fine.
Typically, though, a
First
true
course.
wing aficionado would say flats. Like the people who I know that consider themselves to be hardcore wingers Wingheads would say
Really?
flats. Yeah.
It's
I
easier
didn't know
to
that.
clean. It's easier to clean the bone.
And that meat
Yeah.
between the two.
Correct.
The meat, the
I just think the
mid-bone
meat's better.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
But there's
think the meat's
something-
better on the flat.
like a drum.
I made for the first time
I'm
in
not
a
a
long
wing
time.
aficionado, but
For a long time, I sous vide some big old fat drumsticks, like not chicken wing drumsticks. I'm
Yep.
talking like the real deal.
yeah.
There's something so great and Game of Thronesy and primal about just biting into a big old
Yes.
drumstick. It's great.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Absolutely.
First course.
First course. Yep.
I'm just going to go Caesar salad. I'm not even going to give anybody an option. You're going to Caesar salad.
Yeah, I mean, I would do just to keep it fresh. I'll go wedge salad, and then I would also have a beet salad option. If a beet salad's on a menu, I get it. I love a beet.
So
salad.
I'll go Caesar and I'll throw a nice caprese.
There you go.
Yeah. A little beefsteak tomato,
Salad,
a
give me.
little mozzarella, a little basil,
Or you could go.
Little
You could throw
balsamic.
your bisque here.
a little oleo.
I like the wedge. I'm a big wedge salad guy, and
Okay.
Yep.
the Caesar you can't go wrong. Are you getting the anchovies prepared tableside?
I would think I'd like them mashed in a,
Oh,
in a
it's
nice
Augusta.
wooden
That's a-
bowl
Yes.
into a paste.
There's a yes.
Yeah.
There's a place
Whatever
in
you
Fort
want,
Myers
I
that
think.
I go to when I go to visit the in-laws. They do that tableside. They mash it up.
What's the name of that place in Fort Myers?
It's called the Patio.
Does it have a
There you go.
patio?
It is a national historical. It's on the National Historical Registry.
Oh, there you go.
It's a very nice place.
Perfect.
Okay. Lovely. Noted. All right.
Family style sides. Dustin Johnson went mashed potatoes and spring vegetables.
Okay.
Mashed potatoes and spring.
I'm going to do a roasted garlic mashed potato,
Okay.
and I am going to do fat grilled asparagus. I only like big old thick asparagus. Asparagus.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with there.
I prefer I'm going to go baked potato, but I want the crust. I like the crispy crust
Oh.
on a baked potato.
Okay.
Just a salty, crispy crust on a baked potato. So I would go that. And then the vegetable option, it's interesting. I like the thin asparagus. I prefer those. But if just to keep it fresh, I will go with a maple glazed Brussels with bacon. I'll do that.
Yeah, a little
do
pancetta
that.
in there. You want a little pancetta in there with
Yep.
your Brussels?
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
Gibbe, what are you bringing for your sides?
I could have done. Boy, nice
I
artichoke
would
stuff.
normally say mashed, but I'll go with like nice little red skin potato,
Oh,
seasoned
Yep.
well.
little salt, pepper, a little rosemary,
Yeah.
a little olive oil. maybe?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'll do that just to be different. I think for the veggie, I'm going like a corn, tomato, kind of a cold type salad. Cold
Ooh.
side. Like a spring,
I might
summer type deal.
I might throw my mashed potatoes out and just go with a nice jalapeno cream corn. That sounds like that would be a real
There you
treat.
go.
Be a real delight.
I don't think you're going to have a problem there.
No,
Main
no.
course,
Established.
yesterday we
Prime
did.
rib and crab legs. for me.
Established.
Ribeye crab legs. You.
Ribeye, crab legs.
And then Gibbe.
Give it. What did you
what-
settle on?
What was
A
yours?
parm of some sort?
I think we were going to do the tour of Italy.
Yeah, all the parms, various
Oh, yeah.
parms.
All the various parms.
Yeah, I want
dessert.
like a chicken parm, a lasagna, and some nice pasta. Maybe with like a little Alfredo sauce
Yeah.
on that one.
Pasta station.
Yeah, totally.
The dessert is. I'm excited to add this to my repertoire since it was not there.
You're
prior.
ready. Go.
I'm ready.
Go.
We are in the South.
So his was peach cobbler, by the way, and apple pie with vanilla ice cream.
So mine would be peach cobbler as an option because you are in the peach state, and
Sure.
a classic banana pudding. Oh,
Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting.
yes,
Very
classic banana.
I will say
pudding.
this. I love any sort of cobbler.
Sure.
So a peach cobbler, a blueberry, a cherry, anything with that like cookie coconut crust and then a crisp on top, that warm with a thin slice of vanilla ice cream melted through, it's undefeated. Like it's never been beaten. And the only other thing I would add to it, and it's just my favorite pie would be the banana cream pie. I just love a banana cream pie, and
not to love?
that's the way that I would go there.
What's not to love?
That's what I would do.
The banana pudding is or the banana. anything like that for a dessert is a great pull. But
Oh,
I love cherry pie, a little crumble with with some
Sure you
vanilla
do.
ice
I
cream.
bet you do get it.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a crumble cherry. And then I got to throw in the cannolis. It's the Italian theme. I got to go cannoli.
oh, cannoli. I
nice
like that.
cannoli.
I like
Can't
that
go.
gimmick. I
There's
like
no
it.
shame there.
So
yeah.
I have a question for you guys. I'm going to read this tweet to you, and I want you to tell me what you think this means. So this is from Eldrick Tiger Woods yesterday. And he says, "I'll miss running up Dustin
From
Johnson's
The Tiger.
Yeah, the Tiger.
This isn't a. Okay, this is the Tiger.
This is
yep.
Tiger Woods. I'll miss running up Dustin Johnson's bill at D Johnson PGA, which is Dustin Johnson's Twitter. Bill at the Champions Dinner tonight. It's still one of my favorite nights of the year." Somebody presented this tweet to me and used it as evidence that Tiger doesn't like Dustin Johnson. And I said,
Opposite.
to the contrary, that means he loves Dustin Johnson.
Loves him.
You don't publicly, privately bust on somebody unless you actually like them.
That fact. That's
Okay.
fact.
All right.
It's the opposite.
I
Loves him, in fact.
I knew you would agree. I wanted to be sure that I was on the right page
Yeah.
there. Yeah. I said, this is the worst,
no.
worst piece of evidence you've ever presented about anything.
No. If he didn't like him, he would run it up and make no mention of it.
Yeah, just to
just
stick it to him. Yeah.
Right. That's the way you do that. But to make it public, you're not. So that's the way that goes. That's fun. Starts tomorrow.
Wow.
Does the
We
Masters.
have to
Hard
discuss at some point later on in the show. I've allocated time for our little contest. I feel like do we need to pick our guys?
Somebody I was sent by my brother-in-law through the Masters official app. There is a pretty easy one that we can do
I have
that has you pick 4 players. So you pick one first-timer, you pick one previous champ, you pick one American, and then one from the rest of the world. And that's your foursome.
Oh, that's fun. Okay,
And
I'm
so
in.
that gives us our
Sold.
foursome to go play against each other.
Total strokes or placing, where they finish. Where they finish is the right way to do it.
My
right?
guess is yes, where they finish.
Where they finish would be the right way
So
to do
I'll
that.
forward this link to you guys, and then we can set it up and we can do it.
All right, I love it. All right, we will go around the league coming up next, including some from the sublime to a much more serious topic, and that being the walls closing in a little bit on Deshaun Watson. So we'll get to all of that coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. Beau Bishop from my great friends at Northeast Factory Direct. If you're sick and tired of your outdated kitchen, this is the perfect time to upgrade. Go to Northeast Factory Direct. They've got high-quality name-brand furniture and hot tubs, about half the price of the fancy retail stores. Plus, at Northeast Factory, you also get high-quality cabinets for 60 to 70% less than the expensive kitchen remodeling stores. It's really simple. You make an appointment, you bring in some basic measurements, they're going to walk you through everything. And the best part is the appointment and the design, those are free. Northeast Factory Direct cuts all of the costs associated with traditional stores so you can buy nice stuff at really incredible prices. They also have 0% financing available. So if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, it's simple. Go to northeastfactorydirect.com and schedule your appointment today. Time to go around the league. This from Jason Lockenfor, CBS Sports NFL Insider. Justin Houston's possible suitors include us and Baltimore. What do you think, Z? You like the fit?
Again, it's a veteran pass rusher. That's something that we've been looking for. Justin Houston knows how to get to the quarterback, and he's somebody that's, in that conversation. Jadeveon Clowney, Aldon Smith, Ryan Kerrigan, Justin Houston. I think that adding that veteran presence to our room would be a very good idea. And Justin Houston, it's amazing how long he has been in the league. This is a guy we're talking about who was at his heyday running with Robert Mathis on the Peyton Manning Colts. So not a spring chicken by any stretch, but he's been an all-pro.
He was still in the league. He has been very, very good getting to the quarterback. And so you look at what he did last year, 8 sacks, the year before 11, the year before 9, the year before that 9.5. So still incredibly productive. Yeah.
And by the way, I misspoke right there. I had him confused with Dwight Freeney for a second. He was with the Chiefs. He played with the Colts last year.
With the drafted by the Chiefs.
Yes. Yeah. But he had 22 sacks in 2014. He's at least 8 sacks 4 years in a row. So you're talking about a sub-package pass rusher that can give you what you need. And he played in a 4-3 with the Colts last year. He can do that.
Yeah.
He can do that for you. So I like that.
More fit. From a sack perspective, more production than Clowney by a pretty wide margin.
Significant. Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
No, not even close. Yeah. If you were your boy Teddy Bridgewater, the Saints being bandied about certainly as a possible place for return. My hunch is that they will roll with the two guys they have. Where do you think would be a fit for him moving out of Carolina?
It's got to be some place that relies on kind of that quick passing game, the precision of it. He's in many ways. I think he would make a lot of sense, honestly, in New England if they wanted to utilize him as the quarterback over Cam. I don't think that's what they're doing, but if they wanted to get back to throwing the ball with the 2 tight ends, I think Teddy would be very, very good in that type of a set. Otherwise, he's just going to go be a backup somewhere. Like, I think if I'm Seattle, I would bring him in. Give me some insurance for Russ. I haven't had that.
Steelers.
I don't know that he would fit necessarily in the way that they've been running their offense prior to last year. But if you talk about last year's offense, the quick passing game, he'd be great at it.
Yeah, and give you a little bit of insurance in case Ben can't close it out. So there potentially could be a fit there. This was interesting news this morning, and yesterday when we were on the show, the attorney that represents so many of those women in the case against Deshaun Watson in the civil cases had that press conference, and a couple of women were at that press conference. And this morning, Nike suspended their contract with Deshaun Watson based on this information as well. I'm pretty sure, and I think it's that much of a leap to suggest that the reason that Carolina did what they did is because he's now impossible to trade for. How do you see this? Where does this go? What happens here? What's next? When does the NFL is lucky this didn't happen during the season, so you don't really have to address it too much right now.
Right.
So you benefit from that. But the league will gather here at the draft, and this can't be. I don't think you want this hanging over it.
No, I don't know. It's we're talking about the truth of the matter being. You're seeing things happen, as you mentioned, ripple effects starting to come. We heard what Florio said yesterday. The league is going to have to, I would imagine, comment on this in some way, shape, or form, take some type of action in the near future. It's turned into it's an unmitigated disaster is what it is. This is an unmitigated disaster.
It's impossible to ignore.
Right.
The tough part here is from a right now there are no charges, and right now, like, what do we know that's been done? Well, you don't know anything because it's allegations, and it's at this point. But in terms of breaking the law, like this is such a tricky spot to try to navigate here. But Nike pulling away, that's a pretty significant piece of this. That happening, and I think what happened in Carolina, look, all of these teams have people who go and do their due diligence, and it was very clear that, to me, I think it's very clear to say that Carolina said at this point, we can't trade for this guy, and so let's find another way out of it. And you heard Mixon say yesterday on the show that he was option 1, 2, and 3 for them. So that kind of lets you know where you are with this thing, and it's hard to know what's next. I don't know. If there aren't charges in a court of law, then I don't even know how you proceed.
Right.
Because there's odd behavior, or depending on what side of it or where you come down or what you've read on it, certainly behavior that's not what you would want out of a quarterback isn't necessarily illegal. It's a really slippery slope.
It most certainly is a very slippery slope. It's glad that that's not something that you or I that we have to deal with in terms of how to handle this, because it is a slippery slope. It is not a good situation for the league. It's not a good situation for the Texans. Not a good situation for Deshaun. Certainly not a good situation for the victims. It feels, sometimes we have this unbelievable news cycle, right, where something.
Yes.
It can be there, and it can be hot and heavy, and then it can just kind of fade away. This feels different in the sense you're getting new people at it all the time. This Busby guy is playing the media cycle by making sure he does something once a week at least to keep it going, and it feels, by the day, bigger rather than smaller.
Yeah. And I don't know if it really is or if it just feels like it is. I can't tell.
Correct. And
it's tricky.
There have been
I'm not uncomfortable.
No criminal charges have been filed.
No. I mean, this is not, you think about Kobe and I guess, it's tricky. I'm almost uncomfortable even talking about it.
It's hard because you have
to watch your words
right
so carefully because you don't even know, you don't know anything at this point. It's really hard to know what to make of it. So, and it's such a world that I'm unfamiliar with that I hardly even know where to go with it. But that is newsworthy, certainly, that Nike suspended the contract.
Yeah.
If you're obsessing over something like football, it can be a problem. If you're obsessing over gambling, it can be dangerous to do something like take your mind off it. If you want some tips, go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. For a Keep It Fun Ohio web poll. An interesting day today, Gibby, an anniversary of sorts, I'm told.
Yeah, baseball. All baseball movies on April 7th. In 1976, the Bad News Bears were released. 1989, Major League was released. 1992, The Sandlot was released. Now, I think Major League wins everything in a landslide.
Yeah. I think Major League is the best, most rewatchable, funniest sports movie ever. To me, it has everything that you want in a sports movie. It's got everything that you want. And I don't put it in the same category as Hoosiers because Hoosiers is inspirational. This Miracle is inspirational. That's not what Major League is.
Joy, comedy.
Major League is just a joyous romp.
Yeah.
That is, if it's on, I'm in. There's no question. I'm in. And I find it more rewatchable. Even though I love them both, I find it more rewatchable than Caddyshack, which I can watch parts of here and there, but I don't ever. I know that it's very near and dear to your heart, Z, but I prefer Major League to Caddyshack, and those are the two. That's Abe Lincoln and George Washington to me as the two best funny sports movies of all time.
Couldn't agree more. Absolute treasures.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a question that can come off of that.
How about how much is the movie Draft Day? I mean, the idea that we have two sports movies done about teams in our town
is amazing.
It's crazy.
Incredible.
Big Hollywood productions based around teams in our town. Nuts.
It is nuts. So
You know?
I have a main question that's Masters related. If we want to go down that road as opposed to the baseball, I thought the baseball was just a fun little fact.
Sure.
Oh, it is.
So I'm stealing part of this and adding to it because I heard it on another program earlier in the day. You can do one of these. You can attend the Champions Dinner at the Masters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can caddy for Jack on the par 3 day. Or you can play Augusta on Monday, the day after the Masters.
Play Augusta
by 1,000 miles.
not even.
But what if you can go to the dinner and you can weasel your way into a foursome after the fact with one of those guys?
Well, that's an adding. You're adding to it, Gibby. I think the problem here is, I think the way to do this would be instead of playing like the whole course, because that's a bucket list of all bucket lists to be able to play Augusta National, and there aren't that many people who can even have the ability to get on. It's difficult unless you actually cover the event. So maybe what you do is Champions Dinner, caddy for Jack, or play the par 3s at Augusta, not the whole course. Because it's going to be a landslide if you get to play the whole course. Maybe you can only play the par 3s, or maybe only play Amen Corner, to where you're only getting a few swings out there. Now, I would still choose the swings.
Same.
Because having covered professional golf, what you find when you're covering it or when you're a fan and in attendance, all you want to do is go play.
Yeah.
So I would still do that. So maybe it's even to make it a harder choice. Maybe it's play one hole. Maybe you can only play 18. How would you make it so it's closer?
It's a tremendous question.
Thank
Who
you.
wants to carry somebody's bag? Not
But you're
me.
hanging
Well,
out
it's
with
Nicholas.
Jack Nicklaus. It's not about.
I'd rather carry.
I've done
I'd
that.
rather caddy for John Daly, or I'd rather caddy for Bill Murray or Larry David at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
Just have a ball.
Well, we're talking
Yeah.
about Augusta, so come back.
Jack
to
at
somewhat
Augusta is a
fairyland.
special thing.
Um,
All right, so what's the amount of play that would make this something you'd really think about? Because the Champions Dinner would provide an incredible, like a fly in the wall there would be really, really cool. It would be, because it's such an exclusive table. So what is the right amount of play that makes it something that you'd have to think about? Is it one hole? Is it the 18th?
Not the 8.
You play 18.
I would want to play like 13 or 15. One of
so
the par
okay,
fives.
so do you play Amen Corner? Caddy for Jack.
Then that's a no-brainer, I think.
I think caddy for Jack's not even
But I
in
think
it.
that makes it.
I don't think any.
How about the par
nobody's saying that.
3s? What about the par? Well, Jack is in Ohio, dude. I think you're underestimating Jack's juice here.
I agree.
How about the par 3s? How about you can either play the par 3s, go to the Champions Dinner, or caddy for Jack Nicklaus in the par 3?
I like that.
So the
You
par
have to-
3
you're only
though
playing the
isn't
par
the
3s.
That's not the course though, right?
No,
That's
no.
a
The
separate
par
course.
3s at Augusta.
Okay.
The par 3s on the course.
12, 16, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I would still play the course.
play
but
the holes.
I think that makes it at least.
But it's like the dinner's pretty
Yeah.
great too. The dinner, I do feel Gibbe made a good point. I feel like we could get in there and we could befriend somebody who would want to play golf with us elsewhere afterwards.
I like that challenge. I embrace that.
Right, but you can't make that part of it.
No, you cannot make that part of it.
Because,
But
you know,
it's
not
an
everyone has
intimate
our
evening
charm.
with
Carrying
the best
Jack Nicklaus's
players in
bag?
the history of golf. But
Yeah, let me get close
Nicholas
to
is
Augusta.
going to get more vote than you think.
You should get 0. Why does anybody want to go carry somebody's bag? He'll be at the Champions
you are
Dinner.
putting
You want to talk
yourself
to
in a
Jack?
hole, Zegura.
You want to talk to
You
Jack
are
Nicklaus?
putting
You are.
yourself
Do it
in
at
a
the
bad
dinner.
place.
No, I'm not. It's
He is
asinine.
an Ohio Mount
Great.
Rushmore.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You are putting yourself
Wonderful.
in the
I'll
dark,
sit next
dark
to him
The whole day with
at the
him.
Champions Dinner. That's what I'll do, and I'll get to talk to
No,
other
you
people
get-
too.
you're gonna be with him all
now,
day.
Manual
It's just
labor.
you and
I'm
him.
not even on the course, and
Hey,
I'm
and
closer
remember,
to golf and
in the
not
par
playing.
3 course,
Ridiculous.
in the par 3, everyone they let you hit it.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Every
take a
now and
swing.
then,
Every
let you
Grand
tee
Slam
it
hit a
up,
hole in
and you're
one.
on
Every now and
ESPN.
then, if you make it,
You're on
if you
ESPN.
hold it out, sure you'll be on ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. All right. That's a good one. That's a good job out of
0%.
you. Mark Sessler coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN.
0.
If your Social Security benefits have been denied, call the disability lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk, a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And always great to head out on the hotline and visit with a good buddy, Mark Sessler, NFL Network, NFL.com analyst and host of Around the NFL podcast. Has a reset out right now on the NFL.com of the AFC North roster reset pre-draft, who has needs, what those needs are. Let's just start, Mark, though, with what has been done here by Andrew Berry this offseason. And one thing that is apparent is that we will go into this draft. Do we still have needs? Yeah. Nathan, I think we probably still need a corner. Would like to add there. You'd probably like to do something else at defensive end. That could come in the form of a veteran. It could come in the draft. But you could run a team out there right now that's ready to go, that's markedly improved to the one that you ran out there last year, which puts you in a position to not have to draft for need, but for the best guy on your board. And that's a remarkable thing. When you look at the roster build that Andrew Berry has put together here, and you think of the overall talent on the roster, I guess, number one, where does it rank for you in the NFL in total? And the job he's done, how do you put it into perspective?
Well, I'd put a top 10 in terms of roster talent in the NFL. And if you really wanted to dig into it, assuming health, that could creep up anywhere maybe closer to 7th. I think that the roster has gained strength under Andrew Berry in a hurry. And we saw this last year where they used free agency to attack position groups that they liked probably better than what they saw them achieving in the draft, the tight end position. They just went after that and then also used the draft to supplement that. This time around, I think it was pretty clear to Browns fans that you go into this offseason with a huge emphasis on defense. And you mentioned cornerback, you mentioned edge rusher, but I really love the addition of John Johnson. I mean, we had a chance to interview him on our show. We're in L.A. We went to a Rams game. And he comes as advertised, a smart, reliable player, PFF's third-ranked safety a year ago. You're getting a guy that I think right away brings leadership. You throw Troy Hill in there, and you look at a team that gets Grant Delpit back. You get Greedy Williams back to go with Denzel Ward. So what was really last year a pretty injury-ravaged secondary where there was just so much shuffling down the stretch and, corona issues left and right, it suddenly becomes a strength and one of depth, but there's no reason that cornerback wouldn't be another position you'd address. I think they really can look at the best player, the kind of player that fits the Cleveland Browns. We're starting to find out what the profile of that kind of player is, and it's going to be someone with who achieved in college over a span of time. I think past regimes sometimes went a little risky on potential upside. I really like the way this team drafts. I think they're looking for a series of metrics to prove college production, and that will translate. And so overall, I would look at a defensive-heavy draft, and I really loved the additions of Johnson and Hill in the free agency. I think those were two really smart picks. And when you look at Andrew Berry in general, he seems to make maneuvers that are critically popular with all sorts of different analysts because they don't get fleeced in trades. They don't overspend. They seem to construct smart contracts that bring in players that fit the new vibe of the Cleveland Browns.
Can we just come out and say that the Browns are the favorite for the AFC North now?
I think if for any Browns fan listening that's been around the block, like that still kind of freaks you out because it's like we've been here with this before a few times. I think the real difference this time around is that what whispers are coming out of Cleveland? None. I love the hushed sort of solitude and quietness of the team at this point, because I think they're unified at the coaching staff and front office points, which has not been the case for so long. And so you trust that they're going to work in unison. And you have two free agency periods to look back on. You have a draft that was successful. And so right now on paper, I think that they have the best roster because as we go through some other teams, they each have clear needs. But they're still getting over the hump of a team like the Ravens always bounces back. I'm not ready to count the Steelers out yet, except they are in a weird season. So I can argue for it on paper, but I think it's a big step psychologically and as a team. I would say this, outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't know too many teams that grew up in a hurry last year like the Cleveland Browns, from where they were a year ago in a COVID-ridden offseason with a new coach and so many new pieces to where they were by the end. Outside of Tampa Bay, I don't know too many others that just evolved and grew as a cohesive unit so quickly. So you could look at year two and say, why not make the next leap? This is a team that hasn't won the division since 1989. That's not new to anyone listening to this. That's your next step. If you look up, you've looked up at the Ravens and you've looked up at the Steelers for so long. The step isn't, hey, we won a playoff game, tap on the back, let's go back to being what we were. It's let's continue to win, grow, and to create a franchise that's looked at the way those two teams have been. Right now on paper, I think they are the best team.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mark Sessler joining us, NFL Network, NFL.com analyst and host of Around the NFL podcast. I agree with you. And I think the all of the teams in this division are in interesting spots. We obviously have a ton of momentum going into the season. Love the roster. Love everything about it. You hope Baker can continue to build off of the incredible season that he had, going 20 touchdowns, 2 picks down the stretch for him. Pittsburgh is you respect what they've done so much, but I think, does that cloud like I think you used the word awkward or kind of in a weird spot? I agree. I think they're in a very weird spot. It seems to me like they're kind of in between rebuilding it, and certainly to me their roster's not contending. They have a lot of issues on the roster. You don't bury them just because of their brand and who they've been and their consistency, but to me I don't know that they're in the same category as the Browns and the Ravens are.
I think they're just it's another example of a successful club that's hit a point in time. I mean, you're right. There are overt holes. Their offensive line is a major issue, and I think that there's been whispers that Alejandro Villanueva at left tackle would be re-signed. They were basically told him, don't sell your house in Pittsburgh just yet. So if they can get him back, that would shore up what would be a huge draft need. I mean, right now, one of the worst running team in football last year was the Steelers, and you are looking at a team with Benny Snell and Kalen Ballage as your 2 top backs. So that's an issue that you've got to hit. And edge rusher for them as well. I mean, they've got other needs. And that's why I still wouldn't be surprised if they went and drafted another wide receiver in the first round, because they're a very strange team. If you look at the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns, they're all log-jammed in the mid-20s there, and they all could look at edge rusher as that number one need. So I think it's going to get very interesting to see what happens at that point. But I would look at this about the Steelers, because the Rooneys were basically asked, are you ready to take a step back and rebuild? And the Rooneys just laughed it off. It's like, no, we don't do that. Like, we're bringing Big Ben back, but they are set up for, I would say, in pretty good position for a year from now. They will have 22 players under contract in 2022. That is the lowest in the league, and that's before you add draft class and stuff. But they are projected to have the most cap space. So, it's kind of like what New England had to go through last year, in a bit of a transition, in changing winds. But they're not ready. They've already told us with their moves that they're not ready to simply accept a 6-10 campaign. And look, they
might get one anyway.
Stretch in the way that they what?
They might get one anyway. They might be ready for 6-10, but I think they could go 6-10. I don't think that's a very good roster. They made some strange decisions, keeping their oldest cornerback, letting 2 young corners go. I don't think they have a great roster on paper right now. They are the Steelers, and you always got to respect them because they can beat you, but they're not the team that they were a few years ago at all.
No, and I think they were one. If you wanted to point to 4 or 5 teams that got really whacked by the cap situation this offseason, it was them. They had to, prioritize lower level financial patches and letting guys like Mike Hilton go. And I hear you on that, and it's just that I sometimes with the Steelers, I need to see it with my own eyes, because we can start to get up in the skies in April and May, and then they're the same old Steelers. But their quarterback, to me, Big Ben, if he's the way he came at the end of last season, they have issues. And then next year they go into an offseason looking for a quarterback, something that Cleveland tried to do for 20-plus years.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that is – so that's kind of the situation there. In Baltimore, it does feel – and we saw this last year. Lamar, they were so outward on how important that Kansas City game was to them. And when it didn't go that way, it felt like they really got punched in the gut. And it took them a long time to rebound from it. And they're having a hard time getting receivers in there to play, especially on these one-year deals, because the stats aren't going to be there. It feels like this is you're getting close to having to say, how long can we play this way? And we've got to have something to show for it here pretty quickly. It feels like there's a lot of pressure over there.
I would agree with that. I think that's going to be an interesting offseason. And I would be glued to reports of what the offense looks like with any tweaks or adjustments. I mean, this is an attack that, Lamar Jackson, no one is arguing that he is a premier talent, But he went on the Rich Eisen show last year and talked about the fact that defenses were calling out their plays. Greg Roman, I think, is a creative mind who can come in for a couple of years and completely jumpstart an offense and run an offense like the Ravens have. But it seems to get stale. It got a little stale in San Francisco. It's happening here, and you are in a position where you got guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and T.Y. Hilton who just openly took less money to go elsewhere. That's a perception problem. And so how do you handle next year? I think also, they lost Matt Judon, they lost Yannick Ngakoue. They have a major need on defense as well. So they are in transition themselves, I think, with some deeper sort of soul-searching questions on what they want to look like on offense.
I think you're right. And to your point, if you're a free agent receiver and you know it's a down year and you have a chance to really get paid the following year, you want to go somewhere where your ceiling probably is higher than 700 yards and 3 touchdowns and a run offense that throws the ball to Mark Andrews. I mean, you're right. It's
absolutely.
A perception
and
problem,
I think
sure.
That there were a lot of veterans this year that took these one-year type deals or smaller offers because of the cap situation. And to your point, it's like, do you want to go be featured in Kansas City's offense or Baltimore's? Thank you. I think we know the answer.
That's
we
kind
do
of
know
what it
the
is.
answer.
Cincinnati's, they're in a part of a build, and you're coming off a major injury for Joe Burrow, which is why we feel the way we do about the situation here. In terms of what else needs to be added, Mark, we talk a lot about veteran defensive end and in the draft. If what's the perfect way to put a ribbon on this offseason here in the next month for Andrew Berry? And honestly, acknowledging that this could lead in, this could go into May. There could be some buyout guys. Who knows? Could go into the fall as well.
Well, I would just see that, number one, there's veterans hanging out there that, if they're a little bit older, they want to say, I want to see what happens in the draft before I go add myself to a team that's going to replace me weeks later. Could you ever add someone like Richard Sherman to be a veteran presence at cornerback if they didn't get their guy in the draft? Maybe. I don't look at that as a highly likely thing. They've sort of soft flirted with Jadeveon Clowney for 2 off seasons. I think Clowney is always about the money, and it's always going to come down to that. And so that's a potential if they didn't get their edge guy in the draft. But where they are, and this is kind of a good problem for once, it's been years and years of they're sitting at number 3. We know what's going to happen at 1 and 2. Cleveland's going to pick from A, B, or C player. When you're sitting where they are at 26, it's a larger question. I mean, you don't know what's going to become available to you over the first 25 picks. You could have 3 guys you like. You could be out of luck and maybe trade down a little bit. The thing is, I think that they're not a team that panics. I don't project Cleveland. I don't think any of us do under Andrew Berry to go find a guy simply because it fills a hole. I mean, but to me, I would be really surprised. I think we all would if it was an edge, cornerback. I don't buy linebacker in the first round, but there are a number of good linebackers they could pick up in the second round. And maybe it's just you use this offseason kind of the same way the Carolina Panthers did a year ago. They went full defense in the draft and free agency. And Cleveland might do the same in the draft. Just completely take that side of the ball and shore up what was a team that I think defensively really hung them out to dry a couple times a year ago.
Yeah, and I think that clearly is the approach. And, the first year you fix that offensive line, brought some pieces in that fit the offensive scheme, and then year 2, it's all about the defense. The one thing on offense, though, that I'm curious to get your take on is the wide receiver position and knowing the money that's due to Odell and Jarvis this year, next year, knowing, speed is probably something the Browns want to add, and also knowing that this is regarded as one of the best wide receiver drafts ever in terms of the depth of talent and the quality of top-tier talent that would be available in the first, second, even third rounds. Do you think the Browns, if they do go offense at all here in the draft, we know, edge, we know corners, I think the biggest need, linebacker you mentioned, although I think the Browns like their linebackers better than everybody else likes them. Is wide receiver a position you think the Browns could maybe take a swing at early?
I do, because of the financials and the unlikelihood, I think, that Beckham and Landry would be there a season from now. I mean, a lot of people projected Odell Beckham to not be there now. I think the team feels differently about Odell Beckham than some of the hot takers do about what should happen to Odell Beckham. But it's a great draft for that. I don't think you wait on that if you like someone. I mean, could that be first round? Maybe if a bunch of guys they liked were gone. I think something surprising could happen there. But definitely in the second round, third, I would keep amping up that position. I love that they brought Rashard Higgins back. Had that not happened, I think it would have been a little bit more of a panic situation. But that was a smart re-signing. and you go find more guys that fit the system and grow them and know that you're going to have to move on from some of these veterans that are getting very expensive. As, when you have a better roster, you're going to have to pay more people than you'd expect than before, and you're not going to have a rookie contract at quarterback forever either. So you're going to have to make some shrewd decisions. So younger wide receivers make a lot of sense.
Mark, always enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for the time today, my friend.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
All right, that's Mark Sessler, NFL Network, NFL.com, and host of Around the NFL podcast. Nick Saban with some interesting comments. We will get to that and firm up our Masters competition coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. Beau Bishop here from my great friends at Weather Seal Home Services. Do you need a roof replacement? Would you like to replace your roof for the last time? I know that you would. That's the benefit of choosing a metal roof from Weather Seal. Metal roof technology, materials, styles, and colors have improved significantly. They are beautiful, nearly indestructible, and affordable. Plus, with new metal roof, Weather Seal includes a 6-inch gutter upgrade. It's up to 7 years, 0 interest. That's right, guys. 7 years, 0 interest on the financing on that. Take advantage and call my guys today at 877-351-SEAL or visit WeatherSealHomeservices.com. 877-351-SEAL or visit WeatherSealHomeservices.com. Nick Saban, who, of course, was here and is, one of the greats when it comes to coaching, was on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday talking about Alabama's Pro Day. Kyle Shanahan, Bill Belichick, a little bit of recruiting we thought you'd enjoy. Have a listen.
What did
you guys are down?
Shanahan?
It's about 5 minutes long.
He didn't ask me a thing. I said hi to him. John Lynch, too. They did not ask me a thing about him. They didn't ask me a thing.
Wow.
Maybe they thought they weren't allowed to because, out there on the pro day floor, which is where I saw them,
yeah.
I think that they I don't know all their rules, but I think their rule is they're not really allowed to talk to me. So, I stood by Belichick. We didn't talk, but I don't know what their rules are, and I don't know what the reason for some of their rules are, but there's what it is.
Wait, so you stand next to Belichick, but you guys don't talk, and you guys are great friends?
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit before, whether by phone or whatever, we always talk about whatever we need to talk about.
What would
of course, Linda was his secretary in Cleveland, my secretary now, or my assistant. And so he always comes up and says hello to her. And, that's kind of lifelong.
When did you know Mac Jones was something different, considering we thought he was going to Kentucky? He was a 3-star recruit. You had Tua there. But was there a moment where you go, there's something different here? Because it feels like the NFL and these scouts kind of stumbled upon him the last couple of weeks here.
Well, I think that a lot of people got interested by the way he played last year. He did a phenomenal job. We had really good players around him, no doubt. A couple of really good receivers, couple good running backs, really good offensive line. But Mac's really intelligent, very smart, very accurate with the ball, and makes good decisions about where he throws the ball. So that's a really good starting point for a guy being a good quarterback.
Yeah.
You can go on all these measurables and arm strength and all that, but that really doesn't make you a good quarterback. And, guys like Aaron Rodgers, who I was at Miami when Aaron Rodgers came out, and, his coach told me that's how he was. And in a workout, he was probably not that much more impressive than, somebody else. But those instinctive intangibles that a quarterback has are, invaluable to being successful at the position. And I think that's why that's so hard to evaluate. And I think that's why that's the number one failure position in the draft, is because of that being such a hard thing to evaluate. So, but you asked me a question about when did I know Mac Jones was going to be a good player. I was impressed with the way Mac played in fall camp. And I was hopeful that he would be able to continue to be able to play that way, when the games came. And, he didn't disappoint, at all. He really prepared for the games well. He sort of changed his mindset. He, early in his career, he was an anxious guy that, really had a tough time overcoming, mistakes in his own mind and playing the next play. And, he kind of, got over that, matured through that, and, he really prepared well for games, and he was always able to execute exactly what we wanted him to do. So I think the world of him. And, we've had a lot of 3-star players. Everybody goes on these stars, but, Quentin Williams didn't have a lot of stars, and he was the 3rd guy picked in the draft, and Josh Jacobs didn't have a lot of stars, and he was, a 1st-round draft pick. So, But we don't go on the stars. I never know how many stars a guy has until like after recruiting. You know, somebody says, "Hey, you had this many 9-star guys or 5-star guys or whatever they are." You know, and we evaluate kind of like you do for the draft, and we have criteria for what we're looking for in every position, and it's very similar to what a lot of pro teams would look for at those positions, and that's how we try to develop our team and develop our players. And when we find guys, we don't care how many stars they have, and just
stand by coming back in 10.
Try to develop those guys, and some of them have turned out to be pretty good, and some of the guys that had a lot of stars, you know, it turned out to not be so.
You're up.
You know, one thing else, you're probably saying, "Oh yeah, right." I'm sure you don't pay any attention to the stars. When you are Saban in places like Ohio State, and I've seen this, you actually set the stars. I've seen guys' stars go from 3 to 5 based on an offer from Ohio State or Alabama. Like, they set the stars.
That's wild.
Like, there's a guideline to it, but they're the ones, they're interested, must be a 5. Like, that's the way that it goes. Certainly there's some of it where you're recruiting the best players in the country, and it's so finite now that you know. I think one thing that is, you know, interesting about the Alabama guys that's tough is just the way that they are coached at Bama, like especially at linebacker and some other spots. It's tough because of how much is expected, how physical they are at Bama. He almost feels like he wears them down before they get to the pros. Like, they've had a lot of great ones, certainly. But in comparison, even based on how many guys have been picked, even to Ohio State, where there are stars that have come out of Ohio State in the last decade that look like guys headed for gold jackets, there aren't the same amount of those at Alabama. It's changed recently because of the receiver position that they've been so elite at in the last decade plus, especially the last 5 years. Julio Jones was kind of an outlier.
He was an anomaly, sure.
But absolutely. But now they have more of those guys that are happening. But he's the best in the business when it comes to winning at the college level.
Oh, no question. They've also gotten pretty good with DBs. You know, Minka Fitzpatrick, Marlon Humphrey the last few years come to mind as guys who have come in and been very good. And they're probably getting pretty good work in practice against some of those wide receivers that they have down there now. I did think it was interesting, and Dan Patrick's such a great interviewer, and, you know, Saban brings his monotone delivery, which makes everything feel like it has a great amount of gravity to it. And so when he's saying, they didn't ask me one question about Mac Jones. Not one question. Kyle Shanahan and nothing. Again,
nothing.
Not
no
surprising.
Words.
Because that's a new – what does that mean? Does that mean actually they do like him because we know they want to be secretive? But they were there publicly, so that was all they had to do. Maybe that's all they felt they needed. Let's just go there, be there publicly, and that's it. We'll move on. Okay.
His utter disdain for all of this stuff, he knows he has to do it because it's necessary, but he's very choosy with who he talks to. And even with people he likes, he can be like, have no interest in.
None.
He really has no interest in it.
Yeah.
So some good stuff there, though, from Nick Saban. All right, we will get the Masters competition sorted out. Go over that a little bit coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. It's Beau Bishop from my friends at Northeast Factory Direct. If you're sick and tired of your outdated kitchen, this is the perfect time to upgrade. Head to Northeast Factory Direct right now. They've got high-quality, name-brand furniture and hot tubs. You know about that. They're about half the price of the fancy retail stores. But at Northeast, you can also get high-quality cabinets for 60 to 70% less than at the expensive kitchen remodeling stores. It's really easy. You make an appointment, you bring in some basic measurements, they're going to walk you through everything, and the appointment and the design, those are free. Northeast Factory Direct cuts out all the costs associated with traditional stores, so you can buy nice stuff at really incredible prices. And they also have 0% financing available. So if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, it's really simple. Go to northeastfactorydirect.com and schedule your appointment today. Where would the where is attending the Masters as a patron on your guys' list of things that you'd like to do?
It's high. I really would like to do it. I think, again, it's tough to be that close to golf and not be able to play it. But from everybody I know who's gone, they say it's the best. So I would love to do that. And I feel like we might have the chance to do that.
Yeah, potentially could be in play.
Yeah.
Gibby, where is it? The one thing that now I don't know what it's like at Augusta, but I've done Bay Hill, I've done DC, I've done Muirfield in terms of covering those events and seeing those as fans, and it's hard. I don't really enjoy the experience because you can't really watch the golf. It's such a better TV experience. So you kind of have to decide, am I going to follow a foursome or am I just going to park at a hole and watch the same guys play the same hole all day long? So those are kind of the two options. It's not the best viewing experience going to a sporting event.
No, I think it's the best when you're in like one of the chalets and you've got access to cocktail and food to watch the golf tournament. I can't. I want to walk around, but then you're constantly missing stuff. I'm not a big fan of going to a golf tournament. I'm just not. I would much rather watch it on TV.
I agree. Now, I think Augusta would be remarkable because the place is so hallowed and the experience is so intimate because of how few people actually get to go in. So it's not like you'd be fighting the crowds. You know, it would be a totally different experience from everything I've heard of people who have attended than anything else that you've been to. But in general, golf's tough. You know, it's really, really tough. It's a lot like, honestly, like a lot of people have like Daytona 500 or Indy 500 on their bucket list. Those are tough watches unless you're high enough to actually see something. Because if you're not, like from a media perspective, you're in the pits and you're in the media center, you can't see anything. The tracks are so big. You really have to watch it on TV is the best way to actually see the race. So unless you're high enough up at Indy or Daytona, you really can't see the whole track. I mean, you're talking about, 2 miles around at Daytona. So it's really tough from that standpoint.
Yeah, and there are certain things that are better for spectating than others. Golf, I agree with you. I've been to the Memorial. You've been there, I know, a billion times you were there.
Yep.
But it is such an interesting thing. What do you decide to do? Do you try to walk with a group, which is very difficult, and you don't get to see many of the shots, or do you just sit there all day and watch the same shot over and over and over again, which also loses some of its luster after a while?
Yeah.
It's a better
I think it's better TV.
Yeah.
I feel that way about the Kentucky Derby too, which is one of those things where, like, the Kentucky Derby, to me, the infield experience for just the party would probably be fun, and then if you were ultra wealthy and you were in Millionaires Row, that would be really cool. But the middle class at the Derby, and the middle class is even at the high end, you're not seeing anything, and you're in a folding chair, sitting underneath the grandstands. Like, it's not great. So that's tough. What's the most fun sporting event that you guys have been to? Of those type, like the one-offs. No WrestleMania, Z. Non-WrestleMania.
Killed me. It killed me. I'd say that the most fun sporting events that I've been to, I mean, it would have been awesome with the crowd, but I certainly had a great time at the Browns beating the Steelers in the wild card game this year.
Oh, for sure. That's something you're emotionally invested in.
Sure.
I mean, like a one-off thing,
That's
I'll give you one
random?
I'll give you one that's great, that is such a good time. Now, it's predicated in my experience because of where it was. But the Final Four in New Orleans, awesome.
Super Bowl in New Orleans.
It's just the biggest party.
Yeah.
What's that, buddy?
Said Super Bowl New Orleans wasn't bad either.
Super Bowls are good too.
But
more the thing about the Final Fours are more accessible.
Yeah.
So you get 4 huge fan bases. It's over the course of a weekend. It starts on like Thursday or Friday all the way to Monday. It's a party the whole time, and the whole basketball world's there. It's the Final Four I really recommend. If you don't have a dog in the fight, I put the Final Four above the others that I've been to in terms of the one-off ones.
So the one thing I would like to do, since we were talking about golf, was if I could be at the 17th at the TPC at Scottsdale, I would like that. I think would be a pretty great one-off sporting event experience. I've never heard anybody say anything other than it's the greatest thing ever.
Why have more courses not done that?
It's
one
golf.
hole.
It's golf.
Like 14 at Muirfield kind of has that. They don't have a stadium, but like they have that party feel to it. But they all be quiet because it's Jack's. Like. I love that. I mean, that experience in Scottsdale is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. That would
How
be
about you, Gibby?
That would be high on the list.
Favorite one-off?
Well, when you were saying one-off, I was thinking like just I have had a blast going to a NASCAR race.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's
you
quite
won't
the party.
see much of it. Oh gosh.
I mean, the party is. Yeah, especially like if you have an RV, it's
the infield at Daytona for like the 500, and I actually think the Pepsi 400 is better because it's a night race on a Saturday night. It's crazy.
Yeah, a good NASCAR race like that, one off. Obviously, the infield at the Derby.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, that would have to be pretty good.
Although, you're not watching the race at that point. You're there strictly for the the shenanigans that ensue on the infield. But I wouldn't mind being in the grandstand for it. That's one of those that it would be pretty sweet.
I haven't been to a Ryder Cup, but I've been to a President's Cup when Jack had it at Muirfield, and that was really cool. Because of the team aspect of it. That was a cool. That was a cool thing. I would imagine the Ryder Cup would have that kind of feel from a one-off standpoint that would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do we have our team set? Do you guys have you guys made your selections?
Yes.
I've made mine.
I don't
go ahead,
see
Z.
you
so
on this site, though, Zegura. I don't see you in the league.
Oh, did you invite me to the league?
Yes.
All right. Well, I set up a team in my other league, so this will be my same team.
Okay.
This will be my same team.
All right, so who are the rules? We got to pick a first-timer.
Yep.
We got to pick a past champion.
Yep.
We got to pick an American and then an international, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's right. So here, I'm joining it right now, so I'll put it into Gibbe's right now.
I can't see Beau's for whatever reason. I can't see anybody.
Yeah, mine is finished. It's set up.
Because they don't want you copying off of
but mine's already
else.
done.
Yeah, but they don't want you to change
it
before.
Okay. All right. So who is your first timer? Who are you guys' first timers that you're going for? And we're not even in the same places, so there's been no conversation about who these people would be. Who do you got? Who's your first timer, boys?
I threw a dart at the wall. It came up with Robert McIntyre.
Same.
All right.
Okay. All right. So we've got our
Bobby Mack.
We've got our first difference here. Mine is Will Zalatoris.
No idea.
I liked his name.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There you go.
Beats me. All right. Who's your defending champions, boys?
This was a tough one for me.
It was?
Yeah. I went with Spieth. I think he's playing well.
Ooh, playing hot. Jim Nantz loved him. Liked him a lot.
By the way, just so you guys know, Zalatoris, he's 24.
You don't need to sell me on him. I'm
listen.
not going to care. After we get done talking about him, I'm not going to care about him.
Forget about
Hold
him.
on a second.
It's out of your mouth.
Hold on a second.
I don't care. We don't have time for this.
6th at a U.S. Open, 4 top 10s on the tour.
Right.
Won
You
the
really did
junior
your
amateur in
homework. It's
14. Let's go. Playing hot.
Bobby Mack.
7
Bobby
years ago.
Mack's
Nice
taking him
work.
out.
Won
All right.
the amateur.
I got Dustin Johnson here.
Deej, same.
Yep.
I figured I had
Same,
to go
Gibby?
something different.
All right, U.S., American.
I got Shoffley.
Ooh, X.
I
Gibby.
got Koepka.
Okay.
Koepka's tough. I'm taking Bryson DeChambeau. Let's
Yuck.
go. Nobody took Justin Thomas. For me, it was between DeChambeau and Justin Thomas. Interesting. All right, international.
I went with my heart here, Rory.
Rory.
John Rahm.
Ooh. Okay.
I wanted to go Rory, but sometimes Rory just doesn't care when he shows up at a golf
He could
tournament.
shoot 81 tomorrow, and then he'll shoot 66 the other 3 days.
Nobody then. So the most overlap we have is 2 out of the 4, you and I both. So it's going to come down to you and I. It's going to come down to Zalatoris and DeChambeau against Xander
Schauffele and Bobby Mack.
Bobby Mack. Who was Bobby?
go.
Oh, yeah, Bobby Mack. He was the one I looked at. Pretty good. He's ranked in the top 50 in the world, just like Zalatoris. They're the only 2 that are top 50 in the world. Sixth at the 2019 British Open. That's a nice thing on
I
your
just need
resume.
you to make the cut. If you make the cut, the more golfers you have making the cut, I feel
You're in the
like,
mix.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The NFL Draft is coming to Cleveland this April 29th through May 1st. You can be part of the action at the NFL Draft Experience taking place outside of First Energy Stadium. The 2021 NFL Draft Experience is a free football celebration and open to families and fans of all ages. Space is limited. Reserve your tickets today via the NFL One Pass. All right, Gibby, we have time. What was the poll? What was our Ohio Lottery poll?
You can do one of these at the Masters. Which one would you pick? The winner play the par threes on Monday. Only 43%.
Wow.
Attend the Champions Dinner, 40.3%.
Yeah,
Jack
like I said,
Caddy for Jack at the par 3, 16.7%. I guess that's 16%, almost 17% more than zero, Zegura. You dummy.
1 minute.
You're acting like that's a win. That something came at 60%.
0%. 0%.
Both other
No one's gonna
choices
do it.
doubled it.
0%.
It was a 2-horse race. It's just as I said.
0%.
You're proving my point for me. Exactly.
I'm surprised that for me it would the one is so cool, but to play the par threes with like your buddies, I understand it's 4 holes, but for the experience,
Play number 12.
you're still playing 12, man. Like you're playing 16. Like that's pretty cool. I think that was my vote on that one. All right. And Jade is working on show music, so God bless her.
Slaughtered. Like it should have.
17% disagree with Nathan Zegura.
Great. 83% agree. That's winning.
Yeah. Z just continuing to besmirch Jack Nicklaus.
No,
It's a sad day.
he's great.
Sad day in
Besmirching
Ohio.
I look forward to talking to him at the
Sad
Champions
day.
Dinner. It'd be great. And
Sad
I
day.
can
By the
also
way,
talk
that's
to
how,
Tiger.
Tiger.
that's how
I
you
can
get
talk to Phil.
uninvited to Murphy.
I can talk to Sir
That's how
Nick
you get
Faldo.
uninvited to Murphy.
Oh, that's a good point. Out of giving. No,
I want to talk to him. I don't know why
Yeah.
everybody's acting like I
that
don't.
would
I
be
just wanna carry
amazing
his back.
if we went down there to play and then if Jack happened to be there and I said, oh yeah, by the way, Jack, Z wouldn't hold your bag. He's not interested in caddying for you.
Yeah.
Like that exchange would have been amazing.
Bring it up.
To have the
Not afraid of it.
awkwardness
Say,
of that.
Jack,
That would be so
I'd
great.
rather play 4 holes at Augusta, which I can't do.
I would say, I
Next level.
I would take that in a Zegura-esque direction. I would lead the witness.
Go ahead.
1 million
Lead away.
the witness.
I'm not afraid.
Next level up next.